It wasn't even Twitch. My whole computer, for like, I couldn't control it, delete. I couldn't do anything on any monitor. Everything was just frozen. I'm okay with that. If I pull up Hollow Knight and it fucking freezes too, I'm gonna cry. Alright, we're good. Yeah. How you guys doing? I haven't seen you since yesterday. Whenever I got Radiant Softlock. Oh, wait, does my stream say hidden splits? Like, does that have a little green text, or did it, like, not save because I...
Oh.
Okay, I'll fix it. I'll try. Yeah. What's up, Whiskey? Meh. I mean, my whole computer just froze and I had to restart everything, so that was annoying. No, 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 no.
Shik Halimo. Garama! Shaw!
Should have shot another fireball. Whoops. That was a weird fight. Hey, what's up, Owen? Maps is a keyboard. How you been, Owen? Fair. She's like halfway on the floor. That sucks, but it's fine. What HK control menu? I think it just says the word, doesn't it? Is it? Ah.
Moku Batese.
I'm gonna laugh really hard whenever this song just plays again after this song. Because it is in the playlist, and I don't know if it's played yet. Not there. Whoops. Wait, you bitch and complain about having anime playlists yesterday, and then I give you anime playlists and you play reggae? What? What's up, Shader?
Never son, Velmi outfit.
Interesting, Alex. I have not seen it.
Velmi outfit. Velmi outfit. Velmi outfit. Helmet up.
I haven't watched any of the 3 last world records. I mean, sure, I'll take them. Yeah, it was okay, Rhino. I mean, I'm not one of the most skilled people in the game. Oh, dude, get the Please throw the fucking pickaxe. Holy shit. There goes 20 fucking seconds. I think I was really ahead and I just lost all of it. Am I less than 15 seconds behind? The most annoying part about grinding all that time for 106 world record is it's constantly downplayed as people who have never run that category don't know how fucking insanely hard that was and how like good Scruffy's run was. So, but not possible? No. Not with current strats and understanding. Yeah, I was scared. Yeah, people just that only grind 80% in all skills don't know like how you had to dodge like 5 billion different run ending like bullshit in 106. Getting it all to happen in one 2-hour 20-minute run is insane. Am I less than 15 behind? It's okay if not. I'll continue, but okay. Okay. That was literally frame 1 that I could do that dream now. Cool, dude. I needed that last fucking set to not do exactly what they just did. It was so fucking annoying. I'm gonna get a water. Game is cringe. I mean, it's also the same as people like being like, oh well, Strat and Lep and Skate are all just so much better than everybody else. No one can compete with them, and then literally just beat Skate in a tournament. It's like, well, that's a tournament. It doesn't really matter. It's like, okay, literally beat Skate and Skate twice and beat Strat. But like, it's not the same as speedrunning, I guess. It's only like a display of skill and consistency. Yeah, that's fine. Whatever. So I'm worse whenever, like, everything goes perfectly, I guess. Ignore the, like, 7 fucking runs I've gotten to Radians on world record pace in the past, like, 2 weeks. Right?
Oh.
Skish you, if you will. Let's listen to Monster Cat. I haven't really been doing that today. I've been making sure I wasn't too behind to continue runs, but that's all I've been asking. Yeah, I saw that when I was 17 ahead and then lost it all to Chris Hart, but I thought that Chandelier was way worse. This game, man. Fuck off. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know how people are confidently saying that Skate is the #1 ever, like, best player, but, like, how is Monster not in that conversation? Do you really think Monster's skill, like, couldn't go get a 31 if he really, really loved 80%? I was so scared of my Smashbox turning me to the left. I mean, it's just apples to oranges, like. Why can't fruit be compared? But also, I mean, skilled player is a weird metric. I don't know, like, what is he the most skilled at? Is he the most skilled at, like, pulling off hard strats? Is he the most skilled at, like, getting comsobs? Or, like, I don't know. Turn me to the left, man. Why does it? I still don't understand why it does that. Like, I'm not doing anything. I like, I hope that people aren't in the back of their mind like, oh, he's just like fucking up. But like, no, I'm literally pressing right, holding right, hitting Shade Soul, and then it shoots left. And like, there's nothing else I can do. Like, I'm hitting the buttons that I have the capability of hitting. It's just so fucking stupid. I pressed jump, but it didn't go off. I mean, you could also make the argument that he's the most skilled player at early game, but also his PB is 1 second faster than Lep. So if he's constantly getting that much faster of an early game, then like, you could also say Lep is the most skilled second half runner in the world. Like, JJEH, thank you for the follow. But also, again, that's not even considering Monster or Scruffy. Although I have no idea what Scruffy's been doing for the past, like, year. This is not... This is nowhere, like, I'm not arguing against Skate being like the most skilled player. I mean, he probably is, but I just don't think it's as like clear cut as everyone like seems to. I don't know. I think there's a lot of things not being considered, and also it's a very, very vague metric to say most skilled. Like, I mean, it's a vague metric to say best in a skill. Like, skilled skill is a part of that, and then you can even break down skill into a bunch of different subcategories. Like, I don't know. It's just very strange. And also, again, because he did an any percent in truaning, like, people just forget Monster exists, I guess. Like, my skill that I displayed in the tournament was the ability to consistently like pull off everything I went for. My button was fucking sticking down and I was trying to fix it and I accidentally hit the pause button. Okay. I'm gonna fucking controller every single fireball scope because it won't let me shoot it to the right. That was a horrible, horrible fireball scope.
しハリモガラマでシャーはっシャーはっはっではっ
Why didn't that double? What? Fucking horrible.
Halimo. Garama! Edino!
Ate my fucking fireball. And of course she's stuck to the ground. Dude. Why is it always my game? Does anybody else have this issue every single run? Like, I literally have a 5% chance for her to get pushed back by fireballs. She's literally magneted to the ground every single fucking run I do. Why am I seemingly the only one that this fucking happens to?
batese.
I'm sick of playing today. Guess we're just gonna watch Summoning Salt. I have no idea what the last one we watched was. I think it was Contra. Yep.
In Mario Kart,
I'm gonna work on my Smashbox because I'm gonna switch my button drop.
in Mario Kart 64, being the world champion is the highest accomplishment you can obtain. It's a community of thousands of players. With 16 courses you can get a non-shortcut world record in. There's records for both the fastest single lap and the fastest 3 laps, making for a total of 32 world records. For years, various champions would come along, sometimes holding a fairly large portion of the 32 records. Players like Kevin Booth and Alex Penev were on top in the late 90s, usually holding around half of the 32 records. In the early 2000s, MJ reached new heights for a champion. at times amassing over 20 of the 32 records at once. And that was incredible. Given how many top-level players there were actively playing the game, holding close to 2/3 of the records was astonishing. But in January 2011, an up-and-coming German player posted his first world record. His name was Matthias Rustemeyer. 2 years later, he would become the non-shortcut champion, holding 12 out of 32 possible records. But as the months passed, it quickly became clear that Matthias's reign as the champion was going to be different from any that came before him. By October 2013, Matthias had extended his lead to 20 out of 32 records. A week later, he was at 24. By November, he hit 26. And at that point, he spelled it out. He was gonna go for 32 out of 32 possible world records. That had never been done before. Nobody had even been close before. And it would be an embarrassment to the rest of the community if he actually pulled it off. So, the other players formed an alliance. It was made up of the last few players clinging on to non-shortcut records, and some other top-level contenders. Their goal was simple: stop Matthias from achieving 32 out of 32. Only problem was, the man they were trying to stop was perhaps the greatest Mario Kart 64 player of all time. And what happened over the following years, nobody could have predicted. This was their quest to stop Matthias.
I feel like a lot of people missed that part where he said it would be an embarrassment to the rest of the community, because, yeah, you consider yourself, like, good, and you want to, like, compete for world records, then, like, you can't just, like, give up and, like, not try to, like, and just concede. Also, I'm sure Matthias wouldn't have wanted that. Like, he wanted the records, but he didn't want to just give it to him.
Now, there's a couple things that need to be cleared up. First, Mario Kart 64 is known for having large skips, or oversights from the developers that allow the player to skip massive portions of the track. Shortcuts like the weather tanko on Choco Mountain, the big jump at the start of Rainbow Road, or the wall jumps on Wario Stadium. However, the Mario Kart 64 community has separate leaderboards for shortcut time trials and non-shortcut time trials. The shortcut records have their place in history, but we're going to be focusing on the 32 non-shortcut records.
I cannot get this fucking button out.
It's also worth mentioning how times are converted between NTSC and PAL. PAL versions of games are released in most regions of the Eastern Hemisphere, while NTSC versions come out in North America and Japan. PAL Mario Kart 64 runs at 25 frames per second, while NTSC runs at 30 frames per second. That means that the PAL version runs in slow motion, running at 5.
I'm a fucking idiot.
An identical race would be 70% slower on PAL than NTSC. The Mario Kart 64 community created the combined leaderboard to account for this, which adjusted NTSC and PAL times so they could be compared to each other. Matthias and most other top-level players play on PAL, since playing in slow motion makes driving a bit easier. So, all times you'll see in this video will be listed as their PAL equivalent, which might be slower than times you're used to seeing if you live in North America or Japan. Anyway, let's go back to December 5th, 2013. That was the day that A1A Alliance was born, from a forum post by Zoran, one of the best Mario Kart 64 players around. A1A stood for the Anti-1.0 Alliance, with 1.0 referring to Matthias's average ranking if he got 32 out of 32 records. On December 5th, Matthias had just taken the Calamari Desert lap record from MJ, meaning he now had 28 out of 32 possible records. The only 4 he was missing were Moo Farm Lap, Moo Farm 3 Lap, DK Jungle Parkway 3 Lap, and Toad's Turnpike Lap. Being only 4 records away from 32 out of 32 was enough to mobilize the A1A into action. One member in particular saw a weakness in one of Matthias's times, so he got to work grinding to beat it. This runner's name was VAJ.
Yeah, motherfucker.
Yeah, yeah, yeah! 48!
That was like, whoa! What up, Soki? Yeah, man.
You can't touch this. You can't touch this.
One of the reasons VAJ is legendary is because of his epic celebrations. But the other reason he's legendary is because he's really, really good at Mario Kart 64. He's held dozens of world records dating back to 2006 and still plays to this day. On December 5th, 2013, he was tied with Matthias on Koopa Troopa Beach Lap. So he did attempts to break the tie and sent Matthias back to 27 records. And on December 8th, he did. He beat the tie by 0.02, putting Matthias at 27 out of 32. However, later the same day, Matthias tied VAJ again to get back to 28. And then he got the Toad's Turnpike lap record. And then the Moo Moo Farm 3-lap record. Matthias had 30 out of 32 possible records. The A1A was floundering. Other than the one record from VAJ, they hadn't done anything to stop Matthias. But they did have one big advantage. The last two he was missing were two of the hardest to achieve in the whole game. Let's break them down. We'll start with Moo Moo Farm. This record was 27.82 by TJL, set in March 2013. First, the obvious. TJL played as Yoshi. The three fastest characters in the game are Yoshi, Toad, and Peach, with no major gameplay differences between the three of them. So, every record you'll see in this video will be played as one of those characters. TJL also performed mini turbos all over. By drifting with R and wiggling the thumbstick back and forth twice, you can charge up a boost that can be released for a burst of speed when the smoke turns orange. By performing these in specific places all around the track, you can move through it much quicker than normal. The mini turbos and character selection hold true for all 16 courses, but Moo Moo Farm has something in particular that makes it unique. It has the only random element in any of the time trial courses: moles that randomly pop out of their holes. The optimal path around the course involves going over the holes, and if one pops up while your cart is over it, it'll hit you and force you to reset. The record holder here was TJL. He's what you might call a course specialist. He set a total of 19 Mario Kart 64 records over about 5 years. 14 of those 19 records were improvements to Moo Moo Farm. He was able to master this course in ways that nobody else could, subconsciously understanding technicalities about ways to drift and angles to take. After years of on and off attempts, he got a 27.82, a time he described as a once-in-a-lifetime record. When Matthias did attempts to replicate this time, he found himself unable to emulate many of TJL's subtle strategies. He had trouble approaching the slope where he used the first mushroom and usually lost time there. The other record Matthias didn't have, DK Jungle Parkway 3-lap, was held by William Lacey. Lacey was even more dominant at this track than TJL was at Moo Moo Farm. He had held the record for over 10 years, lowering the record 14 times in a row, ultimately ending with a 213.08. DK Jungle Parkway is a bizarre course to go for records on. You have to drive through the jungle while twisting and turning your way through the grass. Near the start is a big ramp you have to precisely jump off of. The farther to the left you go, the faster. However, go too far left and you'll fall in the water. There's also a cave at the end, where the fastest way to get to the top involves mashing R to hop up a steep slope. Doing this fast is incredibly precise, but after years of playing, Lacey was an expert at it. Since the record holders for Moo Moo Farm Lap and DK Jungle Parkway 3-lap were so dominant on their respective courses, Matthias struggled to catch up while also holding his other 30 records. So, the Alliance was eventually able to make a dent in his record total. Throughout late 2013 and early 2014, players like Jamie, Zoran, and MJ were able to chip away and take a few records from Matthias. They weren't quite on the same level as him, but they each had the potential to set a record if they grinded it out. But, unfortunately for the Alliance, whenever someone took one of Matthias's records, he would almost always beat it back in a matter of days. So, with his record total sitting at 29, it was unclear if the Alliance's plan was sustainable. They had players who could compete with Matthias, but nobody who could keep up with him. But then, in May 2014, a new player came along to join the Alliance. His name was Dan Burbank.
Scraping noise?
That May, Dan got his first world record by beating Matthias's Frapp Snowland
I
lap
don't know.
record. Of course, Matthias quickly beat him back.
Is it in the video? Is it playing right now? Playing right now. The fuck? Very strange. I don't know. Wait, did it stop, Rainama? Don't know. Wait, did it stop, Rainama? Yeah, it seems... I don't know, man.
A week later. But then, Dan did something that everyone else in the community struggled to do. He beat Matthias back. There were no new strategies, no revolutionary new mechanics. Dan simply drove better than Matthias. This pattern continued over the following months, and it soon became clear. Dan actually had the skill to keep up with Matthias on certain courses. So, as 2014 went on, even though Matthias was actively trying to defend his records, Dan was able to help push Matthias's total into the mid-20s. With so many players in the community actively working against him now, getting a 32 out of 32 seemed nearly impossible. The course he really needed help on was DK Jungle Parkway. If he could just get those two records, he felt confident that he could pick up the rest to get close. And in July 2015, he would get some help from a new DK Jungle Parkway strategy by Lacey. The old lap strategy involved using 2 mushrooms shortly after the ramp to cut over a section of the grass. Lacey recognized that it was actually faster to use only 1 mushroom here, and save the second mushroom to use over a later grass patch. Improvements in non-shortcut strategies are typically similar to this. Very small changes to precise paths to take while driving. This new mushroom spot meant there was now more time to save over the lap record. Matthias had a realistic shot at getting it. And by October 2015, he had done it. Matthias had beaten Lacey on both the 3-lap and lap records. 2 of the most problematic world records were out of the way. Now, all he had to do was keep grinding to pick up the rest.
The song is a low-key banger.
On November 20th, 2015, Matthias posted his 5th record from the past month, a 27.68 lap on Mario Raceway. That meant, for the first time in history, a player had reached 31 out of 32 possible records. The only record he was missing was Moo Moo Farm Lap, the 27.82 by TJL.
This one in like
It was
DK Jungle
the
Park,
only
where like
record
the
in
two
the
that
game he had
he
never
struggles with the
held
most.
before, and we've already gone over how much he struggled with it in the past. But now that he didn't have any other records to worry about, Matthias could focus all his efforts there. The A1A was on its last legs. They had put up a good fight for the past several months, but eventually Matthias alone had been able to outmatch all of them. Matthias is a really nice guy, and nobody in the Alliance had anything personal against him, but hardly anyone wanted to see someone hold all 32 records at once. It would be an embarrassment to all the other record contenders. Matthias said in a forum post that he was going to be unable to play until November 23rd, so the Alliance at least had until then to try to take a record from him. So, over the
I
weekend,
did like 5
the
hours of
Alliance
runs
got
today,
to
and
work.
I'm done.
Dan, Zoran, VAJ, and
I'm gonna do
others were
more
trying
tomorrow,
to take
but-
at least one of Matthias's records. But as the days passed, nobody was beating any. Even with the Alliance members spending hours each day grinding courses, nobody could take any of Matthias's 31 records. That's how good he was. That's how far ahead his records were. And sure enough, on the morning of November 23rd, 2015, the day Matthias came back to try to match TJL's Moo Moo Farm lap time, a new record was posted. This is
Abney the
Abney317.
goat.
He's one of the best in the world at Mario Kart 64, but his area of focus isn't with non-shortcut records. Instead, he's held dozens of shortcut records and the coveted 150cc large skip speed run record for years. But he's had the skill to take some non-shortcut records.
I was speedrun 2 words.
And on November 22nd, 2015, he came to the community's rescue. A 212.61 on Bowser's Castle, a new record by 7/100ths of a second. Abney went after this record in particular because it was one of Matthias's oldest records, being more than 2 years old. Quality of play had gotten slightly better since then, so Abney perceived it as weaker than most of Matthias's other records. And apparently he was right. He was able to use different paths around the thwomps to go faster. But unfortunately for him, that also meant that the very next day, Matthias was able to beat Abney's record to get back to 31 out of 32. All he needed was to shave 9/100ths of a second off his Moo Moo Farm lap to get to 32 out of 32. He was so close, and he kept pushing. But then, it was Abney to the rescue again, this time on Calamari Desert 3-lap. This record wasn't nearly as old as Bowser's Castle. It was set only a week prior, but it was unoptimized. Just a month ago, a new strategy called hill hopping was first used by a player known as Dotman. By hopping off the hills on the sand at specific points, you get more airtime and don't slow down.
It's so funny how much I've been watching Trackmania that like my brain sees like them bump into walls and like get airtime as like bad, even though it's not bad in this game. But it's just I've been watching so much Trackmania, dude. If you're ever in the air in Trackmania, it's like almost always bad.
Much as normal. Abney used this to his advantage, and for the second time in just 2 days, he was able to stop Matthias dead in his tracks at 31 out of 32. But that wasn't enough to feel safe. Matthias could casually pick up new records seemingly whenever he wanted, and Abney didn't have as much experience with non-shortcut records. So, just to be safe, Abney figured he should probably go on the attack.
I'd rather never seen somebody say that. The Trackmaniac. God
Abney
damn.
was actually standing up to Matthias. He wasn't just looking to defend his own records. He was actively looking to take records he didn't have. And it was working. During one crazy stretch in January 2016, he set 4 new records in 5 days. It put Matthias down to 27 out of 32, his lowest total in months. Abney had once again proven that Matthias was beatable.
America #1.
But as always, Matthias came back to racing later that month, 4 records down from where he was just weeks prior. But rather than be intimidated by what Abney had just done, he saw 4 records that were well within his abilities to beat. 2 of them were on long courses with room for optimization, Wario Stadium and Rainbow Road. Because of Matthias' ability to take just slightly better lines and optimize his driving, he knew that there was room for improvement over Abney's record. And he was right, picking them both up in a matter of weeks. The other 2, Calamari Desert and Bowser's Castle, each had new strategies that Matthias hadn't implemented yet. The hill hopping on Calamari Desert, and different thwomp paths on Bowser's Castle. Once he did, 2 more quick world records, putting his record total right back to 31 out of 32, his 3rd time achieving that total. It was miraculous how he could do this. If someone took Matthias' records, he would just immediately grind to beat them back. People could temporarily beat him, but he would always prevail in the end. The one exception, of course, was Moo Farm. For the 3rd time, he just needed that one record to get 32 out of 32.
I think it says a lot that
and for the 3rd
the
time,
one he struggles with is the only one that's
Abney took
RNG.
a chance away from him. It was Calamari Desert this time, beating Matthias by 0.06 of a second. Matthias only had the chance to grind Moo Farm for about 12 hours, because that's how long it took Abney to get the record. That made it 3 times that Matthias had made it to 31 out of 32, with just Moo Farm standing in the way, only to be stopped by Abney at the last minute. Just remarkable. Matthias typically plays less Mario Kart in the summer,
And
so in the middle of 2016 he took a step back from the game. Who could blame him after coming so close that many times? So, for several months, he didn't make any progress in his quest for 32.
imagine being like, you're not letting him
The summer
dominate.
came and went.
Stop
By
stop
October,
ruining his
He
dreams.
came back. And when he did, this
Okay,
is
that's-
what he saw.
Part of it, fucking earn that shit. I mean, he is, but like,
Dan had just made a major statement. Matthias was down to just 24 out of 32 records, his lowest total in 3 years. This is what the community was capable of doing in just a few short months if Matthias wasn't there to aggressively defend his records. In the past, Dan had focused his world record efforts on Frapp Snowland and Mario Raceway. But since he had the time, in mid-2016 he got a lot better at other courses too, and picked up records on courses like Wario Stadium and Yoshi Valley. Again, it was nothing revolutionary, just learning the right lines to take, how to take each turn, and other small driving mechanics. But regardless, the end result was there. Matthias was far away from perfection, and it seemed like maybe, just maybe, the community could take it easy and not have to worry about 32 out of 32.
I like this song.
But then, in October, Matthias did this.
Yes!
And that's the reason why he never got 32, is because he's not using the GOAT, Yoshi.
With a cave. What a cave. Yes! 23! Can you believe it?
Over the course of just 4 weeks in October 2016, Matthias set 7 new world records. All of the months of work throughout 2016 done by Dan, Abney, and others were undone in a matter of weeks. World records on Wario Stadium, Mario Raceway, DK Jungle Parkway, Calamari Desert, Yoshi Valley, all by simply outdriving the other record holders. And that meant that for the 4th time, Matthias was at 31 out of 32 records. Once again, the one that was missing was Moo Moo Farm Lap. Let's take a closer look at that record. It was 27.82 by TJL, whereas Matthias's best time was 27.91. TJL's record was one of the oldest records still standing at this point, being set all the way back in March 2013, shortly after Matthias first became the non-shortcut champion. Moo Moo Farm is a very unique course, with slopes you have to go up and a fence you have to drive as closely to as possible. There's 3 very particular spots you have to use your mushrooms, hugging the inside fence and driving over the moles while you do. TJL had been able to completely master it back in 2013. But since Matthias had 31 other records to worry about, he just couldn't quite figure out how to do this course optimally. Well, until now.
87. I felt the PR, I felt it.
It was a personal best by 0.04 of a second, meaning Matthias was now a personal best by 400.
That doesn't add up. So, did he PB twice in one day? Because this says 27.96.
Of a second, meaning Matthias was now a 20th of a second away from 32 out of 32. His other 31 out of 32s only lasted for a day or two at most. But this one was different. 5 days later, by Halloween night, he was still alive at 31 out of 32. Abney wasn't there. Dan wasn't there. The Alliance had gone radio silent. The only thing there was Matthias grinding Moo Moo Farm, closer to the record than ever. And then, Lacey came to the rescue. On October 31st,
Jungle Parkway
2016, Lacey got a 2:12.50 on DK Jungle Parkway 3-lap. This course, especially on the 3-lap side, really was Lacey's specialty. It was his 23rd world record there, and this one couldn't have come at a bigger time. The thing is, Matthias definitely was the better driver of the two of them. Lacey just knew this course inside and out, and he was still a really good driver. He knew exactly where to go on the ramp, exactly how to take the slopes through the jungle, exactly how to mash on the cave at the end. This one course took up a ton of his Mario Kart 64 playing time, whereas it was only a small fraction for Matthias. As expected, the community was elated. 4 times now, Matthias had been at 31 out of 32, and 4 times he had been stopped at the last minute. And you might be noticing a pattern at this point. Matthias would get really close to 32 out of 32, then someone would stop him at the nick of time, Matthias would stop playing for a while, and then the community would grind together and take his total down lower. Well, that would happen again now in 2017, but this time, the community took it a step further.
Sheesh.
By November 2017, Matthias was at 21 out of 32 records, his lowest total in 4 years. There were 2 reasons his total got this low. The first was the usual period of inactivity from Matthias. He didn't completely stop playing, but he wasn't aggressively defending his non-shortcut records. And second, Dan took his gameplay to the next level. At one point in July 2017, he had 11 world records, the first time someone other than Matthias had had that many records in years. This was Matthias's lowest point since his quest for 32 out of 32 started. He knew he could get most of those records back, but what would it matter? We've seen it time and time again. Matthias would get his total up to 31 out of 32 with some effort, only to be stopped by one course in particular.
Same.
Moo Moo Farm Lap was always in his way. The 27.82 by TJL was his nemesis.
It's crazy that he had
And
3
it was
lap and just
too
couldn't
good
get
for him to
single.
beat. But then,
It does put everybody on notice.
he did it. On November 27th, 2017, Matthias tied TJL's legendary 27.82. The key to getting it was playing the course a ton. It came at the end of a several-week-long grind.
I'm sorry, just the phrase, the key was playing a lot. It's just like, yes, he's correct, but also, like, he got better when he played it more.
Where he had dozens of laps in the 2780s. During that time, he mastered everything there was to know about Moo Moo Farm, and ultimately it all came together on one magical run. His shrooms were clean, his mini turbos were perfectly timed on the slopes, his driving was tight. In March 2013, TJL set a magical run with his 27.82. It took Matthias 4.5 years, but finally he had replicated it. And it changed everything. This was the one world record Matthias had been unable to hold.
This song is so
The one record
good!
preventing him from getting 32 out of 32 for the past 2 years. Now, he had it out of the way. He stood at 22 out of 32 records. He had gotten each of the remaining 10 records before, and he knew he could get them again.
Oh, you guys already
It was
know.
time, once and for all, to get 32 out of 32.
Oh yes, that should be enough. Yes! 4:25. Yes! Let's go.
Sure enough, 3 months later, despite some resistance,
Dude, this song will never not give me goosebumps.
Matthias was back to 31 out of 32. The last record he needed was DK Jungle Parkway 3 lap. A course he had struggled with at times, but still a record he had held on 4 separate occasions in the past. His best time was 2:12.58. The record was 2:12.35 by Lacey. He was behind, but this record was certainly within reach. Time to finish the job.
God, just the melody building right there, just fucking... Ugh!
And then, on March 13th, 2018, Matthias made history.
Love this song too.
He was beaten by Abney on Calamari Desert at the last minute. For the
That's how he
third
says it's just funny.
This was starting to get absurd. It was the 4th time Abney had prevented 32 out of 32. The 3rd time on Calamari Desert. And of course, Matthias congratulated Abney on the Mario Kart 64 forums. Only to beat him the very next day. Right back to 31 out of 32. Without a chance for the Alliance to gain any ground. So, Matthias was back to playing DK Jungle Parkway. 0.19 behind the record. And once again, he got results.
It's honestly kind of big, and I mean, in 3 laps it's not as big, but it's still kind of big.
Pushed him to just 0.15 behind Lacey's record. This strategy from the Alliance clearly wasn't working. Even if someone beat one of Matthias's 31 records, he could usually get it back within a day or so. That wasn't a good long-term solution. Dan recognized this problem, so he started doing a strategy that few others dared to. He grinded DK Jungle Parkway 3 lap alongside Matthias. This
God,
method
all these
certainly
songs are
had its
goated.
positives and negatives. On the upside, if he beat Matthias to the punch, it could make it harder to finish the job and get 32 out of 32. But Dan had only held this record once before, and Matthias certainly had the upper edge. If he failed to beat him, that would be a lot of time wasted he could have spent on any of the other courses. This certainly was a gamble, but it paid off, because on March 16th, 2018, Dan set one of the clutchest records in Mario Kart 64 history. This beat the record by almost 0.2 of a second. It put Matthias back to 0.34 behind the world record.
What a fucking run,
But
though.
its true dividends would be paid the next day, when
I'm still
Matthias got this time. It
Oh, yeah,
missed
doesn't he, like-
hitting the world record
yeah, he would've
by
beat it the whole-
24 hours. Had he gotten it the prior day, it would have been 32 out of 32. But thanks to Dan's brand new record, he was just barely behind, by a matter of 0.08. Still, they were clearly playing with fire. Matthias was less than 1/10 of a second from 32 out of 32, and had proven he was capable of taking time off his DK Jungle Parkway time fairly easily. This wasn't Moo Moo Farm. Any day, he could take this record.
Also, I'm curious. I'm gonna turn off my camera because I'm gonna eat, and I don't like being on camera when I eat. It feels weird. What are you guys' opinions on? So, if you guys don't know, obviously the only reason why these players were able to like play defense is because Matthias Rosmeyer would post his world records as he got them. So, like, they were able to see exactly what they needed to beat. But after Matthias like stopped running, Dan decided to go for 32 out of 32, but he wouldn't post his runs as he got them. So he would hoard the records that he had set so that he could like unleash them all at the end and like then have 32 out of 32. It honestly feels like very gray area to me. Like, is there something that's like, I mean, nothing says you have to post a record as soon as you get it. It does feel kind of scummy. Not scummy, that's too harsh. Feels weird. But I don't know. It was a good strategy.
He was constantly trying. The community watched and
Yeah, he did eventually. Like, he waited till he had all of them, and then he posted them all at the same time. That way nobody could, like, know what they needed to beat to, like, prevent him from having it. You know what I mean? A little bit, Strat. I agree. But at the same time, like... Yeah. Like, I don't know. It feels, like, very borderline. Like I don't feel like it was necessarily like something he needed to. I think he came out and like apologized for it and everything. It just doesn't feel like that big of a deal. But at the same time, like, yeah, probably should have posted him. I don't know. I'm kind of torn.
waiting to see when they would have to crown Matthias as the ultimate champion. But on March
Still hella
23rd,
impressive though.
they breathed a collective sigh of relief.
That sub. Oh man.
Honestly, it does make it 10 times worse that he did it after Matthias like couldn't get it. You know what I mean? Like after all of this entire video happened. You know, these like 10 years or whatever. Like, if this all hadn't happened and then Dan had done it, it would have been like, yeah, okay, if that's a strat you wanted to take. But like after they all spent all this time like actively working together to fight against Matthias, and then he does that, it feels worse.
How was Abney able to keep doing this?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, the record still hadn't completely been optimized from the hill hops. But on Matthias's last Calamari Desert record, he had been able to go under the first train gap on lap 3, whereas all previous records were too slow and had to make the second one. So, Abney's goal was to hill hop effectively enough and drive fast enough to match Matthias and make the first train gap. He was able to do it, and thanks to just slightly better driving overall, he shaved enough time off to beat Matthias, and once again send him back to 30 out of 32. But, with how close Matthias was, Abney thought it might be best to keep going. So, he set his sights on a new target. both the 3-lap and lap records on Rainbow Road. He targeted these in particular because A, they were each over 2 years old, meaning the community's overall quality of driving had improved since then, and B, they were on the longest course in the game, meaning there was likely room to optimize them. And within a matter of days, he nonchalantly picked both of them up.
Dude, Rainbow Road, like, non-shortcut seems like the most boring track ever.
Good enough. Let's go. Straight into the challenge.
So that put Matthias back at 28 out of 32 records. In one quick swoop from Abney, momentum was back in the Alliance's favor. Things were looking up for them. So Matthias got back to work, and this is what he did over the next week.
Come on. Yes. That's it. A 71 on the last lap.
Having the 28 change to 29 like on the frame that he passes the finish line, it's such a simple editing trick. It's really cool.
Yes. Yes. Oh.
He was back. This was now the 7th time Matthias had 31 out of 32 records.
Goated.
He had more determination than ever now to finish the job. The record was 212.14 by Dan, and he was right behind him with a 212.24. He quickly found results with a small personal best. But on May 1st, disaster struck for Matthias. Zoran, the founder of the A1A, beat the DK Jungle Parkway lap record.
Dude, that
meant
fucking
now
jump spam was insane.
Matthias was missing
He
both
flew up that
records on
wall.
this course. And what occurred throughout May 2018 can only be described as a mad scramble on DK Jungle Parkway. Dan was grinding the 3-lap record, Zoran was grinding the lap record, and Matthias was grinding both. But ultimately, even though Matthias was lowering his best times, having to deal with both Dan and Zoran was just too much for him. Despite coming insanely close, he couldn't get either record. And eventually, he stopped trying.
Wait,
And his record...
this Blur has been the fucking tennis player this whole time. I just realized that. Did he have to blur out what's his face's face? I don't remember which tennis player it is. One of the goats. I just realized that that's been in the whole video. I was wondering why there was like a square there every time. He's been blurred. It's not Ronaldo. That's a soccer player. Jesus Christ. I don't remember his name.
record. And eventually, he stopped trying. And his record total began to fall into the 20s. Months passed, and as more of Matthias's records were taken, reality began to set in. His window for perfection was probably gone. He had had 7 opportunities to get 32 out of 32.
Fucking hell.
All of them were foiled at the last minute. Moo Farm was his nemesis for a long time, with TJL's ridiculous lap being too hard to beat. After finally conquering that record, DK Jungle Parkway stood in his way. Lacey's expertise just barely kept him ahead, and once Zoran got involved on the single lap record, it was just too much for him. Matthias was probably the greatest person to ever play Mario Kart 64.
God, we still have 8 minutes left.
Holding every record at once was just too big a task.
I can't believe it.
Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs.
Guys, is this real or am I dreaming? 2:11:72 out of nowhere.
At least, that's what everyone thought. But on November 20th, 2018, Matthias pulled off a miracle on DK Jungle Parkway 3-lap. He took almost half a second off his personal best to crush the world record. Matthias himself didn't see this coming. Nobody did. But it meant he might be able to make one last push at this. Now, he just had to pick up the rest of the records he was missing. That took him all of about 2 days. One record left. DK Jungle Parkway lap.
Fuck this map. Track, whatever.
The record was 42.07 by Zoran. Prior to Zoran taking it in May 2018, Matthias had held the record for the past 2.5 years, so he certainly knew what he was doing. But to beat the time that Zoran had put up was going to be asking for a lot. There were 2 big tricks he had to focus on. First, the ramp jump. There's a very specific place you want to land, just to the left of this tree.
It looks fucking horrific.
Winding yourself up when you go off the ramp is super tough, but Zoran.
Oh my god, they're so annoying.
And second, the cave jumps at the end. We saw before how important these were, but lap runs add a mushroom in here to take them even faster. There's a very specific way you need to hop up to the top. As far to the left as you can be, but too far left is too steep and you'll tumble. All of that was a tall order, but luckily Matthias was the best the world had. This one was within reach. His thousands of time trial attempts, his 7 other times at 31 out of 32, they all came down to this. It was time to finish off his dream.
The editing on this part is
32
so goated.
out of 32 world records.
Oof.
Oh, shocking. Shocking.
The fucking blur.
So close. Oh, that's so tough to swallow. How close?
That
can
Zoran
you get?
fucking jump mashing was like insane. This might be one of the most painful things I've ever seen in my life. Like, dude, there was a lot of pressure on my, oh, that was a bad jump. He was really far to the right. What does it look like to me? I don't know. Like, there was a bunch of pressure on me after, like, running 106 for a year. This motherfucker has been trying to do this for like 5 years. Imagine the fucking pressure here.
Ouch. Oh, God. What did I do?
Ouch.
Oh my god, dude.
I think that might be one of the worst parts of people like complaining about like, oh, why were they so mean to him? Why did they not just like let him dominate? Is that DK Jungle Parkway where he hit the wall and like tumbled was such a punch in the gut, and then it cuts to Abney like laughing, which like he didn't do anything wrong, but it definitely feels like you're just like, ow. You know what I mean? Like, so it just feels like, I don't know. I think that might have made people be like, I'm still fucking emotionally recovering from that, from him being right there.
Dream-crushing record from Abney. How close had Matthias come? Well, he tumbled in the cave because he was just barely too far left. As in, half the width of a cart too far left. Had he not tumbled, it almost certainly would have been either tied with or ahead of Zoran's record, meaning 32 out of 32. 5 years of trying, and thousands of hours playing Mario Kart 64 came down to one tiny failed motion. He just held the control stick slightly too far left. That was the difference between 32 out of 32 and another failed attempt. Following this, Matthias's record total would never recover. Instead, it was Dan's and Abney's turn to celebrate, pushing certain time trials to levels they had never seen before.
Yes! Yes! There we go, boys. Yes! 54! Yes!
I wonder if Abney ever like talked about, I mean, I'm sure he has, about the Dan thing.
Yes! Oh my god! Oh my god!
And that's where this story ends. At least for now. Matthias may have never accomplished his goal, but what he did do is honestly just as impressive. 249 total non-shortcut records.
Fucking hell.
8 separate times at 31 out of 32. He just never got the last one to finish the job. But the thing is, he might not be done yet. Matthias still plays Mario Kart 64 actively to this day. His potential remains right there. He might still be in the middle of his quest for 32 out of 32. But wherever he goes in the future, we know he'll have tough competition along the way. Thanks for watching.
Alright. I think it's no surprise. I think this is my favorite Summoning Salt video of all time. It's just so good. It uses every song I love, except for maybe Misplaced My Keys. Might be the only one. But that video is fucking goated. It's so sick. Like, I don't think it's any surprise it's going at the top. It's my favorite video. Just everything about it. It's just perfectly crafted. I don't know. Big fan. Big fucking fan. Alright. We have like 15 left because I think there's like 3 or 4 that aren't on here. Maybe 14 left. I don't know. But I want to turn my camera on for the end of this, but I'm still not done eating and that's it. All good. I will see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow we try to, I don't know, try to keep my cool and do more timer blind runs. They seem to be good for me. Still, I haven't talked to you guys about it much, but I've just been pondering the orb. No, Dream Wheeler route like every day. Been thinking about it, but I don't know. We'll see. Have a good one, you guys.
This video is so fucking good. I watched like 1/3 of it. Dope. Yeah, I'm excited to watch it.